So we've got this nice shot of a bride here, this portrait shot, which is available for download in the description box. And let's just say in a hypothetical scenario that you've got a load of wedding photos or a lot of sort of portrait photos like this back, and the client or the bride is super happy with everything, but they just want the lips to be have sort of come to life a little bit more. They've chosen matte lipstick, which has dried out even more on the day, and now the lips are looking dull and a bit flat. So I've got a really good tip for doing things like this, and it's so simple. You don't need to do any accurate masking. Just create a blank adjustment layer. Now beef your brush tool and make sure, we'll start with white as your foreground colour, and I'm just going to change the brush so it's quite a bit soft. It doesn't really matter though, and I'm just going to start painting white over the lips. Now I'm just going to make this a little bit harder just so we don't spill over the edge. Now it really doesn't matter where you paint here at the moment or how accurate you are, as long as you don't go over the edges of the lips too much. But focus on areas that may potentially have highlight. So now we've got that rough blocked in area of white. This is where the trick comes in. So if we double click to the right hand side of the layer, we'll bring up the layer styles box. Now we're going to go down to this bit here, blend if, towards the bottom center of the box, and it's got current layer, and then there's a slider that says background layer. So we're going to go background layer. So what we want to do here is we're going to tell it to blend out, sort of remove the areas of this white layer that fall into darker values, i.e. shadows and lower midtones, and then only leave it in the areas that are a bit lighter. So let me start showing you what to do. In this instance, get this black triangle at the bottom with this grey triangle in the background layer on the left hand side, so the one in the dark shadow area, and slowly move it to the right, and you'll start to see the pixels on the white layer that we painted starting to kind of blend and fade away, and they start to just cling to the values that are remaining. So at this point they're only visible over areas on the image underneath, i.e. the bride, of the values that exist between these two arrows now. And if we take it all the way up, they'll basically just disappear because there's nothing that, that value in the image. Sounds more complicated than it is, but all you need to know is just drag this slider and move it along. What we're going to do is just trying to add a bit of a sheen just to the edge of the lips. So don't want to take it too far, so I'm going to do something like that. But you can see it's very rough and pixelated looking and not very authentic and smooth. So this is where a second part of the little trick comes in. If you see, the triangles actually split into two smaller triangles. So if you hold the Alt key and click on the right hand side triangle out of the two, you can see we could split the triangle, and you can let go of Alt now and just drag it. If I keep moving this to the right, if you watch the lips, what's going to happen? It's going to smooth the transition between those two. And now I can even play with the other triangle, and you can just get a lot more of a natural effect. I mean, it's quite subtle. Once you've done this a couple of times, you'll be able to do this in like 20 seconds flat. It's super simple. So we click OK now, and we'll turn that on and off. And we've got that. If I zoom out and just turn that on and off, it just makes a really big difference. It's subtle, but it's really realistic. It's not like a solid painted on curve or anything like that you'd do. It's got a really nice subtle quality. And the beauty is, because it's just white on the layer, and now we've got that adjustment affecting the whole layer. If you missed a bit and you wanted to just keep painting over, you could carry on painting that on the lips. It's not doing anything now because the way we've got it adjusted, it's only affecting those part of the lips. And you can actually use this technique for other things. Like, let's say we wanted to just increase the intensity of some of these highlights on the pearls, but we just want to do a couple and we don't want to spend much time. Do the same thing again. I wouldn't use the same layer because it'll all have different values. So I'd just make another adjustment layer. Another blank layer, and again we can say white, and let's just paint over a couple of the pearls just as a test, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll double click the side, go into layer style, go into the background, drag it across drag it to the left whilst looking at the pearls and seeing at what point does it start to latch on enough to just give it a nice little pop of extra white. And when it's got to a point that you feel is right, you can hold Alt click to split the triangles to smooth the transition out. And again, it's quite subtle, but now we've tested it on a couple, What we can do now is just with white selected, we can just carry on and brush that now wherever we want to add a little bit of extra sparkle to those pearls. It's obviously a bit too much there, so I'm going to back off the opacity. And again, it's just that tricks like that using the blend diff adjustment layer can just allow you to make quite a big difference in not much time at all without the need for any complex masking.